Hello and welcome to part 2 of our interview with Jason Wrobel. We are Kate DeVore and Rick Fiore, and this is You Won't Believe What I Ate Last Night. Please subscribe to this channel and also our iTunes channel, and check out our new episodes of this podcast every 2 weeks. About 95% of this interview is material that was not in our regular episode, but there's a tiny amount of overlap because there's a couple things that we just thought were so valuable we wanted to include them twice. All right, hello and welcome. We are very excited to have a special guest with us today, celebrity vegan chef Jason Wrobel. Hay House has just published his beautiful new book, which is called Eternity, subtitled More Than 150 Deliciously Easy Vegan Recipes for a Long, Healthy, Satisfied, Joyful Life. Jason focuses on functional eating, which is about discovering the ingredients in foods that can optimize various aspects of people's lives, like eating for increased energy or emotional health or better sleep, and so on. He's a certified raw food chef and instructor and has been an executive raw food chef. He hosts the popular YouTube channel The J-Ro Show, showcasing healthy recipes, lifestyle transformation tips, and Epicurean entertainment. His television series on the cooking channel, How to Live to 100, is the first primetime vegan cooking series in TV history. Welcome, Jason.
Hi, guys. Pleasure to be back and here again.
Hi, Jason.
Good to see both of you.
Good to see you, too.
Thank you. We have a very probing question for you right off the start. What did you eat last night, Jason?
Oh, sorry. I was like, all the days are blending into each other. Last night, I made something very simple and delicious. I had a roasted spaghetti squash. And I made that with a little coconut oil. Had a fresh organic marinara sauce, put in some fire roasted tomatoes. And then I topped that with something fancy. I topped that with a little bit of black truffle salt.
Ooh,
I know. It was so delicious, so simple. So I kept it light last night.
Oh, I want to be you. That's so awesome.
Are you sure?
Delicious.
Are you sure you want to be me, Rick? Because I've done a lot of things in my life that I'm not necessarily proud of. It was New York, and I was young, and I needed the money.
Well, that I'd take too, but as long as I was eating healthy now, I'd totally be you.
When you're a young actor and musician in the Big Apple, you do things to get by.
Ah, classic.
Yes, true enough. We'll leave that there. We talked a couple days ago, Jason, and you had been sort of fighting off a little bit of an illness at that time. And you had a couple interesting things to say, and I wanted to actually revisit those about how you like to eat if you're not feeling well.
So eating when you're not feeling good, yes. I have been fasting a lot. Last night was really the first solid food I had had in days, because I'm a big fan of giving the body a rest and focusing really on liquids and hydration, and drinking a lot of fresh juices, a lot of water, mineral-rich broths when I'm not feeling well, because I find that my recovery time and becoming well is much shorter. So rather than pounding down a ton of food, which compromises our digestion and compromises our body's ability to fight off the viruses or the infections or the yucky stuff we have going on, I just like to fast. Because if we look at nature and we look at animals, when they're sick, what do? They go in a quiet place, they go in a safe place, and they fast and they rest. And I think that's very important for us to do that as well.
Oh, God, I love that idea.
It's hibernation.
It makes so much sense.
You know,
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying it makes so much sense because when we're busy digesting, the body has a lot of work to do. And it seems like if we could allocate those same resources to healing instead of processing food, then maybe we could heal more quickly as long as we have whatever nutrients on board, I guess, that we need in order to do that.
Yeah, and if we take away, a lot of the heavy proteins and fiber that we get from solid food, and we're taking in liquid nutrition like, say, fresh green juices or, again, really mineral-rich soup broths, a ton of water, it frees up, they say, up to 15% of our energy reserves that can be reallocated to healing our bodies. So that's a significant amount.
50 or 15?
1.5.
Wow,
Wow.
that's amazing. My kingdom for that response, because the amount of times I'm sick and I'm lying on the couch and I'm like, please, just bring me my pizza, please. It's all I need to regain strength to face the day again.
Well, okay, I will give you a secret recipe that's not in my new book, and it has oregano in it, so it's got a flavor undertone, kind of like pizza.
Yes.
Okay, so this is my hardcore fire breather, kick your ass to Timbuktu immunity shot. That if you're starting to feel a little tickle in the throat, if you're starting to feel a little sinusy or weird, here's what you do.
Oh, I'm so excited.
It won't taste good, but it'll work.
That's okay. I'm ready.
My life.
Okay. So you take some fresh organic lemon juice. You squeeze that into a shot glass. You take some apple cider vinegar, colloidal silver, oil of oregano, fresh crushed garlic, olive leaf extract, and cayenne pepper. And you take about a 4-ounce shot of that, and it will kill any bad stuff in your body. I mean, it's like the Terminator. It's like, where's this bad stuff? I'm going to come in and kill you. You can't run. If you run to the chopper, I will cut you off at the pass and kill you. Like that's what this shot is. So that's my Terminator shot.
I love the Terminator shot. Where would we find you? You mentioned some items that I don't have in my pantry. Where would I find said items? Are they available at a health food store? Basically, most of the stuff you just said.
Yeah. So the things like the colloidal silver, the things like the olive leaf extract, oil of oregano. Yeah, you can definitely pick those up at either Whole Foods or a local health food store. They have all of those high-powered herbal products, but they really work. I mean, it's profound when I take a shot of that stuff. If people can see me on video, the look is more like but the stuff is gonna die. Like that nasty stuff is gonna die, baby.
Yeah, it might make you make a cringy face. That was what you missed there, people in the listening public.
Yes, nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, in your book, you talk so wonderfully about that whole idea. You talk about this idea that if the body is like a machine, if it's a sexy machine like a Ferrari or a Porsche, why would you possibly put in crappy fuel? And I guess my big question is, what would you say to someone, I'm not naming names again, who has always seen their body more like a Ford Escort, like the 2-door Ford Escort? Or, like a Hyundai when they first came out. You remember the Hyundais? How, like, no one wanted to buy a Hyundai because they cost, like, $4,000 and then they fall apart after a couple of years? But
I do. I do recall that. As a car guy and as a guy from Detroit, I fondly recall the mid-'80s Escorts, and I fondly recall the original Hyundais.
And my Hyundai has, it has a little bit, it's white, has a little bit of rust around the rear, wheels.
Sounds like a personal problem, Rick.
I would say this. I would say there is tremendous power, and I learned this technique from a friend of mine. His name is Matthew Engelhart. He's a millionaire entrepreneur. He actually got out of the clothing business and started the Cafe Gratitude line of healthy restaurants out here on the West Coast. And he has an interesting story from the 80s when he was up and coming in the clothing industry and didn't have a lot of money, but he had an old Saab, like an early 80s Saab, and kind of like what you're talking about, maybe a little banged up, but still ran great. And he talks about treating that car with so much love. He washed it and waxed it and cared for it as if it was a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or a Bentley. He acted as if there was this level of gratitude for what he already had in his life, and he was acting as if this Saab was as important and intrinsic and beloved to him as if he had that exotic Italian sports car. And I'm a big fan of appreciating what we have right now, that we don't have to play this, I'm only going to be happy when ... game. I have the Ferrari, or I have, the 10-pack abdominals. I don't know where the extra 4 come from. I think they're in the genital region. I don't know. It's weird, but I've seen it on Instagram. I think it's photoshopped. I can't tell.
Implants, Jason. It's implants. Yeah.
There's implants for everything now. God almighty.
I'm pretty sure the 10-pack is all about implants.
But I would say if you are saying I'm not going to be happy or I'm not going to treat my body with care and respect and love until I'm in the Ferrari, you're going to be waiting a long, long time, possibly forever. And so whether we're an Escort or a Hyundai or a BMW or a Ferrari, whatever machine we've been blessed with, I think it's important to cultivate a sense of self-love and respect and honoring for where we are at in the moment, because that leads to healthier choices now and in the future.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. That's so beautiful. No, it's great. That's really great. It is great. Yeah. So when I finished reading your book, I literally stopped reading, and this is the first thing that came to my mind. I love the idea of eating this way. And when I've eaten that way for long periods, I literally feel like I am going to float away. Like I'm actually going to, like a helium balloon that has lost its tether to the ground, and I'm floating up towards the sky. And eventually I'll fall down and maybe, I don't know, hurt some poor animal in the ocean. That's how I feel. You know what I mean? I get so light, literally, physically.
And is that a good feeling, or is that a troubling feeling for you?
It's a troubling feeling for me because I'm like, whoa, you know, it doesn't, because I don't know if it's troubling because it doesn't feel normal, right? Quote unquote normal, or if it's actually, do I have the type of constitution where I'm designed to have heavier foods? Like I don't eat meat. I'm wondering, am I supposed to, because I do feel like there are some people that, when they eat meat, they feel better. Am I supposed to be one of those people? I don't particularly feel that about meat. I'm just talking about the heavy quality that sometimes meat can bring.
Yeah, I think in that sense, what I see, this physical description you're talking about is in a lot of raw foodists, or people that eat 100% raw, or even fruitarians. That's a whole nother subsegment of the population that eat mostly fruit, is that there's this physical feeling of lightness, but almost like there's an imbalance that can happen certain ways. Like, let me do an impression. Hi. Yeah, it's amazing. It's so good. I mean, my chakras are all open, and it's just, everything's amazing all the time. Which is wonderful to be around those people. And I find
for like
that
2 minutes.
there's a lack of grounding and a lack of anchoring with them.
Yeah.
So what I find, Rick, in most people that are doing that, whether it's, vegan, raw, fruitarian, is that they're not eating enough grounding foods. And by grounding foods, I mean things like root vegetables, things that are more starchy and heavy, that grow in the earth, that can energetically and nutritively anchor us. Things like more complex organic whole grains. Things like more healthy fatty foods like avocado. These are good things to build in if we're feeling a little too airy and high.
Right.
And I've done that. I mean, when I first dived into raw foods and I was eating mostly raw or 100% raw for about 2 to 3 years, I remember feeling that way and going, I don't necessarily like this feeling. So I completely identify with what you're describing. Once I started dialing in more cooked foods, like those root vegetables, like the whole grains, the quinoa, the avocado, I felt much more balanced that way.
So it sounds like I might be confusing grounding foods with heavy foods.
Yeah, difference there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I get that. Oh, interesting. Interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's great. So you say that you recommend that we eat basically whole, minimally processed, organic, plant-based foods, which really is hard to argue. But what I'm interested in knowing from you is your opinion on how bad is animal products, or are animal products for us, if they are, assuming that they are humanely raised and organic and as clean as it's possible for those kinds of products to be. How detrimental to our health do you think animal food products are?
So we're eliminating like factory farmed animal products from this conversation. Correct. Okay, good.
Correct. I'm talking about organic, humanely raised, properly treated animals and the meat and products that come from them.
Yeah. So my opinion is I don't think that animal products from a nutritional perspective are necessary for sustaining the human body. Every single nutrient, whether it's the ones that people usually bring up, the vitamin B12, the folate, the iron, the vitamin D3, the vitamin K2, the protein, the calcium. These are kind of like the top 8 that they always go, oh, well, you need to drink milk and eat cheese and eat meat for those. But it's completely untrue, because if we look at from a nutritional source, there are plant-based resources for every single one of these nutrients that always get an argument from people, dictating you get it from an animal source. So from a sheer perspective of efficiency, I think it's easier to digest and assimilate efficiently these nutrients from plant-based sources. And here's why. if we eat meat and dairy and eggs and animal-based products, they're inherently all acidic products. There is no alkaline animal products. It doesn't exist. And what we do in an acidic state in our body is they have noticed, especially in cancer research in particular, that cancer cells can only thrive in an acidic state in the body. So with people eating a high volume of meat products, high volume of cheeses and eggs and milk, what we're doing is perpetually keeping our body in an acidic state. And that's potentially a breeding ground for some of our major diseases. So I find that consuming meat is not necessarily the most efficient choice nutritionally, and nor is it particularly a safe choice if we're consuming them all the time. I find that eating alkaline plant foods are more efficient, and they're going to be healthier in the long run. And I've done this through not only the clinical research that I put in my book, but looking at the centenarian cultures around the world. These are the places on Earth where people are living past the age of 100, and they're either eating an exclusively plant-based diet, like the people in Loma Linda, California, or they're eating mostly a plant-based, where they might be having a little bit of meat, very small portions, or small portions of fish. But the majority of their intake is locally grown, whole food, plant-based products.
That's very interesting. And when you talk about efficiency, it makes me think that there's also some environmental concerns there as well in terms of efficiency. Yeah?
Absolutely. Yeah. Animal agriculture is not the best use of our resources. We divest millions and millions of gallons of water every year, millions of acres of cropland that we grow this food. We feed it directly to the animals. Then we slaughter them and yield a much lower volume of food than had we just taken the crops in the first place and fed them to humans. So it's an inefficient feedback loop in that we are wasting our resources that can be used to feed humans directly if we could just curb our appetite and our cravings for meat and understand that nutritionally, some of the most economically depressed cultures, I'll give an example, like India or places in South America, are existing on things like rice and beans, lentils and legumes, fresh vegetables and fruit, because they can't afford to spend their money on meat products and animal products because they're prohibitively expensive there. So if millions of people in these cultures can sustain themselves on plant foods, I think we in America can do pretty good too.